Welcome to the Trading Sliders Podcast. Episode number 15 of the Trading Sliders Podcast, brought to you by Speed Decals this week. How you guys doing? I'm Bobby Puckett. Not in the studio with me, but on the line because of the major snowstorm. Kurt the Flash Bennett. What's going on, Flash?
What's going on, Bobby?
Oh, not much.
Cars off.
Yeah, well, we're gonna try this. Seems like every show we got some kind of guinea pig stuff. So this is show number 1 where we're doing a call-in deal. Quite frankly, because we got 10 inches of snow outside and ice, and it's just a mess outside.
Telling everybody not to go out on the road, so I figure I'll do my part and maybe stay home.
yeah, we listen.
I'm tired.
Yeah, well, that's what I was say. For guys that don't know, we made a 24-hour race day trip, like literally a 24-hour race day trip. We got up. Got up at 4 a.m. Well, we left the house at 4 a.m. and we got home at 4 a.m. So it was probably about a 26-hour race day trip as we went down to Talladega, Alabama, got away from some of the cold weather, went down to where the sun was shining in the south. So that was a good trip down there. And then we're also going to cover the Tulsa shootout and talk about the Wild West shootout and everything that's going on right now in our local area, the major snowstorm. It's been a while since we've had 10 inches of snow in our area, so hell, everything's shut down.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal for everybody because these people don't know how to drive on snow. I've been out today, I know.
Well, I
use it as practice.
Yeah, well, I seen something funny. Somebody said, "Are you going to give any driving tips?" It was on Twitter or something. Somebody said, "Are you going to give any driving tips for the snow?" And the guy said, "As soon as you guys learn how to drive in the sun, and we'll talk about driving in the snow." I was like, "Well, hell, around here, we're not going to be talking about that."
Yeah, that's right.
News of the week, before we get into what we did this weekend, and obviously the Tulsa shootout, that was one of the major events this weekend. But news of the week, I've seen a bunch of complaints and stuff about streaming. Again, I know it's kind of like a dead horse, and we say we are for it, but Flow's price increased $20, so it was $170. It was $159. It's gone up to $179. And I seen some people complaining and said, "I hope this $20 goes to the racetracks." And we've been on record. Yeah. We've been on record as saying that streaming's a good thing. And when we get in our first results here, we're going to talk about the Tulsa shootout. And there's people all over the country talking about this because of streaming that would had no idea who was in it, what happened if there wasn't streaming,
what kind of racing there was there.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing that's with $179 for a year of subscription, and you get 10,000 races. You get every USAC race live, Sprint, Midget, Silver Crown, every Lucas Oil late model race live, every high limit sprint car race live, all the cars tours, the pavement stuff on the NASCAR sanctioned body.
They got a lot of drag racing stuff for drag racing people. I mean, they've got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that the platform, the Flow Racing platform is just phenomenal, and Dirt Vision. I mean, I'm subscribers to Flow, Dirt Vision, Racing Dirt, Race on Texas. All that stuff carries good stuff. It adds avenue, it adds viewership to the sport. That, I mean, let's just be honest, we're kind of a niche sport, anyways. It's not like you turn on ESPN and there's 3,000 football games on and 700 races. There's just 3,000 football games on, and if we're lucky, they'll talk about Formula One or NASCAR, and that does nothing for us in the dirt racing world. So I'm a big advocate for Flow Sports. I'm a big advocate for Dirt Vision, streaming races, and for people that says it's hurting the racetracks, I've been on both sides, and I can see both sides, but it's not really hurting the racetracks. There's people all around the country. Just this week, at the Tulsa shootout, the announcer from Port Royal Speedway says they had some people from California that came out to a regular show because they watch all their races at Port Royal.
Yeah.
Without Flow, those people from California are not going to Port Royal, Pennsylvania for any make, model, reason whatsoever. So there's positives and negatives to both, but it does more positive than negative, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I think so too, because, I mean, it's just like people say it's hurting. I know the Ice Bowl was on one of the platforms yesterday.
It was on Crate Racing USA TV.
Yeah, and that was still a packed house. I mean,
there was.
I mean, for it to be 50 degrees, it was packed.
Yeah, we're about to talk about that, and like for like us,
when they ran completely out of food, they're packed.
Yeah,
So.
Well, I was part of the reason why they ran completely out of food.
Yeah, well, me too.
Yeah. But just so to speak on that. So we made the trip this weekend down to Talladega short track, 6 hours from our house. Let's say we left Saturday morning. We went down there, went to the races. Races were good. The grandstands were packed, and through Flow, we were able to watch the Tulsa shootout and the Wild West shootout on our way back home, trying to beat the snowstorm. I mean, we still went to the races. We still supported a race. So, all we did was be able to see something else that we weren't going to be able to see regardless. And with the Tulsa shootout, boy, did we see a week's worth of racing. 1,855 cars was what the final tally was. 1,855 entries between 6 divisions. But they went through, they said this guy went through with the clicker because, some guys run one car in multiple divisions. But the guy went through with the clicker, and there was 1,471 race cars on the property.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
That is crazy to think. Because for people that hasn't been to the SageNet Center, I mean, it's a big building, but 1,471 race cars is almost unfathomable. I mean, the Chili Bowl's crowded with 400. So, I mean, that's just nuts.
And they call them micro sprints, but they're not that much littler than a midget.
No, they are midget. They're basically a midget frame. They got a motor mounted different. Same wheelbase and the same deal. I mean, where they save on the weight is they don't run a full rearing housing. They just run a tube with a aluminum tube with a sprocket on it. So
people that don't think to watch the races at the shootout don't know what they're missing, because every race is just as good as anything you're going to see at the Chili Bowl. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I seen where Kenny Wallace talked about this a little bit. Kenny Wallace was saying, people say go-kart racing and they're micro sprints. They're not real race cars. How many times has Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Sheldon Creed, Kyle Busch, just to name a few, the top of the game in the most major form is showing up to your racetrack to race your division. It is a real division. It's the biggest division of race cars in the country is micro sprint racing. And when it's on a track, a quarter mile or smaller, it's the most exciting racing in the country, bar none, period. That's not debatable. You can like full fenders, you can like late models, you can like modifieds, you can like sprint cars. But if you sit down, and like last night, if you watch that non-wing outlaw micro feature and you decided, you know what, I don't like this, you are not a race fan. Point blank, period. I mean, you just do
being self-centered towards whatever kind of racing you like is what it is.
You're just being selfish because you like Ford figure 8 or whatever division you like running. The non-wing, the outlaw non-wing micro race last night, it may go down as race of the year for the whole year on January 4th.
Right.
There may not be a race that even comes close to topping that.
That was an awesome race.
Well, and the funny story about this race was I had to watch it this morning because as we're watching the races,
somebody was crashed out in the passenger seat.
Yeah, well, we're watching the races. Somebody took a 35-minute nap the whole damn day, and it was during the best race of the year. That's just the way it works out. So that was me. Flash and Tanya got to watch it live as I put the tablet up real safe. Put the tablet up nice and safe in the center of the dash while we were driving home. And I fell asleep while they were doing track prep. And then I woke up.
I wasn't watching it. I was driving, but Tanya was telling me what was going on.
Yeah. Kurt. Yeah, anybody that's rode with Kurt knows the last thing he's watching is the damn road. Point blank, period. That's the last thing he's looking at. So I throw in an extra dynamic. I say, you know what? I'm going to give us something to watch here. Because, I mean, he's going to be wandering off anyways. Let's at least watch the damn good race. So,
yeah.
But throughout the whole week, the racing was phenomenal there. And shout out to Kyle Larson. He won 2 Golden Drillers in the winged outlaw race and then the wing 600. Kyle Larson is
that's for a guy that wasn't very comfortable in the micros.
Well, did you see his interview when he said the top row toddlers was telling him where to move down in the wing outlaw race?
Oh yeah.
So anybody that's been to to Tulsa or you've watched the Chili Bowl, the top row rowdies, they sit on the back stretch and they inflate beach balls and they're drinking and having a party. Well, all the kids from all the restricted and junior sprints, that's kind of where they all kind of gravitate, for the shootout and watch the features. Something I didn't know this year, they changed the camera angle so the guys really can't watch the board to see where the people are running.
That's good.
They changed the kind of TV screen. I seen Christopher Bell say when you're coming off turn 4, you can look across and see it, but you can't look up like going into turn 1 like you used to be able to and use it as a mirror. Right. So Larson said, I didn't really know where to run, and I was looking at the kids, and they were all pointing down, motioning me down. He said, so I listened to them, and it paid off. That line was way faster. So not only is Kyle Larson probably the best race car driver in the country, he'll listen to a 10-year-old standing in the bleachers who he thinks is going to give him an advantage. I thought that was pretty awesome. The kids were loving it.
I liked his interview when the guy after the race was over, the micro race was over last night, the non-wing. He said, man, that guy went by me so fast. He said, and I was doing all I could do. He said, I better try to find something else.
Yeah, well.
And he did.
Yeah, and he did. But we're going to talk about that. I'm going to run through the other results first real quick before we talk about it. We're going to save the Outlaw non-wing for last. But like I said, Winged Outlaw, Kyle Larson took a golden driller. Wing 600, Kyle Larson took a golden driller. The restricted A main, Hayden Henson, young lady who won the restricted A main, did a really good job. And the junior sprint A main was taken by Braxton Bush. Yeah. And pretty cool interview I seen with his parents. They said after last year, after Braxton was leading and got upside down, he spent the whole year, every time he would go to the racetrack, he would say, this is for Tulsa. I'm going to win the golden driller. And he did. I mean, the kid put his mind to it. And I've seen some people talking, complaining about, well, your dad's got that kind of money. You should be able to, compete like that. Money doesn't buy talent at all.
No, doesn't buy talent, and there's so many of those micro sprints that's got the best of everything on them you can get anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like they're not running against not the same equipment.
Yeah,
that's tech stuff there. They had tables where they pulled stuff apart. I was watching. They showed the video of them taking everything apart on them.
Well,
motors apart and everything.
Yeah, speaking of tech and stuff. Speaking of tech and stuff, they had 3 disqualifications for motors, 1 disqualification for fuel, and then I seen this morning where. I noticed there was a couple people that wasn't in the A main after their qualifiers, and they were failed tire samples. So I think 4 or 5 guys got disqualified here this weekend. So they don't.
That's pretty good to be able to take out that many cars. You know what I'm saying? 369 or 389 races is what they ran.
Yeah, it was 389. Did you see where the guy? So in his heat race, he didn't run good. So they only checked like the top 3. So in his heat race, he didn't run good. So he didn't run a qualifier. So he went to the E main, I think, and he ran 3rd in the E main. And he's so used. He said, every time I've been in here, I just drove past the scales. So he drove on back to his pits and got disqualified.
Yeah, I think that one. Yep.
He's like, I didn't know. Every time I've been on the track, they just waved me by. I've rained so bad. So he had pretty good humor in it. And the stock non-wing division, Brent Cruz took the win down. And Brent Cruz may have done the best donut celebration I've ever seen after winning any race. Here we go again. I forgot to mention our guest. I was about to say Raymond Johnson would be proud. Well, this week's guest is Raymond Johnson, the guy who invented the donuts, so to speak. Brent Cruz won the non-wing micro. He did like 6 donuts on the backstretch, comes to 3 and 4, cuts about 3 more donuts, comes to the front stretch, cuts about 3 or 4 more donuts. It was pretty funny. I think it was either Clinton Bowles or somebody said, man, he's burned off more fuel cutting donuts than he did the whole feature.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny. And then the Outlaw non-wing, quite possibly could be the race of the year between Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, Emerson Axel, Blake Hahn, and Steven Snyder Jr. Christopher Bell started on the outside pole. Blake Hahn took the lead. I think he led about 15, 20 laps. And then I think Blake Hahn started fading there about midway through the race. I don't know if he ran a softer tire, but Bell hit him with the slider and started running the top. And Steven Snyder Jr. came from 21st to the lead. And that's who you were talking about when Larson said, he went around me so fast. Not only did he go around him so fast, when he passed Christopher Bell, he was set sail. He was gone.
He was straight away ahead.
I seen where somebody said, well, yeah, but he abuses equipment. I think his tire went down before he got into the wall.
Yeah,
because he backed the car in, and the car kind of like biked up on the right rear, like it lost tire pressure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sucked for Steven Snyder Jr. Steven Snyder Jr. He's a kid out of Maryland. He races at Action Track USA all the time. He's a kid to watch. I think he won like 4 or 5 $10,000 win micro races this year. He won major micro races all over the country, and shout out to Steven Snyder Jr. He was probably. I mean, we probably could still give him contention for Slider of the Week, because coming from 21st to 1st with that field of cars, with everybody that was in that field, is almost unbelievable, because he did it, and he still had 15 laps to go. He did it in 35, 40 laps.
Yeah.
The 55-lap A main.
There wasn't a whole lot of cautions.
No, I think they had like 3 early, but there at the end, it was game on. It was time to race. But Larson got past Emerson Axel, and Kyle Larson started doing Kyle Larson things. He ran up on the banking, right front on the wall, turned off the wall, and was gaining so much on Christopher Bell. It was amazing what Larson was doing.
That was impressive. That was impressive to do that same thing every lap without wrecking. I mean, that was just crazy.
Well, back when we had our show with Pat Sullivan, I was talking about Kyle Larson at Kokomo one time. I seen him run in turns 1 and 2. And he would kind of cheat the cushion, but he would back the right rear up on the fence. Not exactly what he was doing, but basically the same thing. He was doing it with the right rear instead of the right front. And, he ran down Brian Clausen and went around him and passed him at Kokomo on the fence doing that same thing in a non-wing sprint car.
Yeah.
Kyle Larson uses every inch of the racetrack to his advantage. Unbelievable racing. It's kind of... As they come to the checker flag where the line is there, you can't really tell because the camera angle's kind of off to the side just a little bit. Dean Mills does an excellent job, but like just the logistics of the Tulsa Expo Raceway, you can't, like, if the camera angle was straight on down, Dean Mill would be up in the rafters with the heater. So he's kind of off to the side just a little bit, and so you really couldn't tell who won, but Christopher Bell took the win over Kyle Larson and Emerson Axel. Overall, the Tulsa shootout was a success. Probably, I've never been there. I would really like to go, but it's probably one of the biggest events logistical. It's almost got to be a nightmare for how many hours those guys work from 8 a.m. I mean, cars are on track from 8 a.m. to midnight.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that means people are in the building, from 6 till 2.
I would say that, and Boone, Iowa is the only thing anywhere's even close.
Yeah. Boone is a logistical nightmare as well.
Yeah, right.
And speaking of logistical nightmares, we're going to talk about Talladega, where we went next. That's not really easy feat either.
That's a big deal too.
Yeah, it's crazy, but
because you have weather to deal with there.
Yeah.
Too. I mean, a lot of times.
One last thing about the shootout, though, I want to say something. Dean Mills, guys that grew up in the Indiana area, you know who Dean Mills is. He kind of worked for Jack Slash a little bit, and he's a Central Indiana guy he's the guy that records all the USAC stuff, and he shot and recorded every single lap of the Tulsa shootout. Just think about that. The guy that was on the main camera did every single lap at the Tulsa shootout. If they had track prep, he'd get down and use the restroom and grab something to eat. Dean Mills, shout out to you for bringing us all the great footage for a week straight. And he's the guy that's going to do every lap at the Chili Bowl too, which is no small feat either. But at least at the Chili Bowl, it's not 8 a.m. every morning. Big props to everybody at Flow that put on the Tulsa shootout. All the production guys, all the staff. That's a astronomical thing to do.
I mean, you talking about, we was talking about Flow too, about the streaming. You can't get tickets for the Chili Bowl unless you just get lucky, right now. Yeah. Because it's packed. You can't.
It's sold out. Yeah, it's sold out in advance.
You can go in the pits maybe, and be able to watch from the back bleachers, but they're so full that it would be really hard to find a seat unless you just sat there all day without getting up and going to the bathroom.
Yeah, no, you go to the Chili Bowl. You go to the Chili Bowl now. Like if you try to get pit tickets now to the Chili Bowl, you're just watching it on TV in the pits. Is what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that helps people that can't go to something like that.
To experience a major event.
10.5 hour trip, and you're not going to get tickets to go see it. So it needs to be on TV so people can see it. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is.
Yeah, because the racing's phenomenal. I mean, we
always talk about flow being a bad thing some places and being a good thing others. This is definitely one of the places where it's a good thing.
Yes. Yeah, 100% agreed. I could not said it any better right there.
Right.
And so talk about our trip next. Talk about another logistical nightmare.
we had more than one trip on this trip.
Yeah. So, all right, guys, this is no joke. This is the way the trip went to Talladega. Flash met me at the house, 3:45. Me and my wife met him and his wife. We hopped in the car, drove to Talladega. We were somewhere in Alabama. It was right past Coleman, Alabama. We decided to stop and get breakfast. So we're at Waffle House. This is experience number one while we're on the trip. We're at Waffle House. Our waitress she had a medical emergency. Let's say that. It's as my wife chimes in. Yeah, because I don't want to say what it is. So our waitress gets carried off in a stretcher while we're eating our food. That's what happens to us. We get to Talladega at 9:30 in the morning, as races are starting at 10. All right, so we got 30 minutes of time to decide where we're going to sit, walk through the pits, talk to our buddy Ace, who made national news by getting in a fist fight the night before. But before all that, Kurt's wife decides to make snow angels in the middle of the parking lot. As we're walking in, Kurt's wife trips, falls down. His big truck's laying there, and in Kurt's fashion, instead of saying, "Hey, babe, are you okay?" Kurt says, "Get up. We got shit to do. The race is starting in 30 minutes." So, all jokes aside, Debbie was okay, but she took a spill. What grass that they had in the parking lot at Talladega Short Track, she took to the bleachers with her. She had it all over.
She wasn't used to wearing boots. That's what we're gonna blame it on.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna blame it on. The boots had ankle weights in them.
Luckily she was carrying covers on, fell on those.
The cover she had for Kurt's seat to be marked off was absolutely covered in looks like cut up grass.
Talladega grass.
Yeah. But we get to Talladega, and for the people that was wondering, yes, TJ's Crawfish was there with their trailer, and yes, my fat ass had two shrimp bowls, because that's what I do. But the racing at Talladega was actually pretty good, all things considered. It's 50 degrees and the sun shining. They had 423 race cars, an Ice Bowl record in 9 divisions. 34th annual Ice Bowl at Talladega, 423 race cars. Only had 27 super late models, but that did not hurt the show whatsoever.
No. Not at all.
No. The racing was really good. We started counting caution flags, but we gave up after the third race because those B mains, those races are called the old hooligan races.
Yeah.
Well, and hooligan races in the South is a little different than hooligan races in the North.
I don't know how many people have been to the South and actually watched like B mains and stuff.
Yeah,
because those guys race different.
Our
guys would be in a fight they'd be in a fight every single lap. Every night.
Well, we had two guys from our area. One of them got in a fight because you said our guys would be in a fight. He was. Yeah. And the other one, shout out to Todd Sherman and his crew, making the 12-hour drive down from Otisco, Indiana. That is a hike to Talladega, Alabama, and had to drive back in the same damn snowstorm we tried to beat. Shout out to those guys. Got to watch the feature with them. But super late model feature was there was no doubt about this. Sam Seawright from Fort Payne, Alabama, took the lead and never looked back. Took a couple starts to actually get going, but after that, it was there was no question in doubt. But the racing from second on back was actually pretty decent. Yeah. And then the 604 Crate Racing USA race number 1 of the winter series of the 4-race series. It was taken by Jimmy Thomas, the Alabama racer, last year's Crate Racing USA national champion. Picked up right where he left off. I mean, absolutely destroying the crate late model field. It wasn't. Oh, yeah. It was not even. I mean, Sam Seawright. There's 3 or 4 restarts, and Sam Seawright may be the best restarter in the South on a super slick racetrack, and he couldn't even stay within check-in distance of Jimmy Thomas. Thomas was checked out. It wasn't even a contest, so to speak. But the racing. The racing in all the divisions, other the modifieds, we had a couple of boys that were trying the top and did pretty good, 604 late models. But the race of the night had to go to the factory stock. Brian Vandergriff out of Tennessee took the win, and he held off challenges lap after lap. I mean, he had guys on his outside, guys pushing on his back bumper, guys shoving him in the corner. But it was a really good race. And honestly, the hot shots / front wheel drive, I know they get a bunch of bad publicity all the time. Shout out to the old boys that was sitting next to us that lived in Alabama but had to drive to Georgia to get in where they claim Chattanooga, Tennessee. Pretty cool dudes we sit there and talk to, but they were telling us how they didn't like the hot shots, and they were quitters. They quit on us. They went home because it was getting cold, but not us. We stayed for the hot shots.
We told them we was going to tell them on the show that they were quitters.
Yeah, I told them. I said, I'm going to call you out. I'm going to let you know you're quitters. And they said, well, we're going to listen. I said, well, this is a national event here. I mean, we're nationwide. We're doing big things. And, well, not all that, but still. There's enough people that listen that knows that the father and 2 sons that was sitting next to us are quitters at Talladega. But all in good, good spirits. So, but the hot shots race was actually pretty good. It
was really good.
Yeah, that was probably hold on, scratch that. The mini stock race was the best race.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. The mini stock
mini stock race, the rear wheel drive mini stocks. So boy had a flat tire. Started like 9th, got to the lead, got a flat, went to the tail. Raced all the way back up in 24 laps and was taking the lead with 2 to go, and him and the leader, I don't know really how to say it. They just got together. So it was a really good race. But the hot shot front wheel drive race, we actually seen somebody sports drone somebody again, as we called it. Guy got droned. Green, white, checker, restart. And the funny thing is, right before that, the guy that was running second then, he kind of bullied his way from like 5th to second. Yeah. So I told Kurt, I said, man, that leader, he might want to be careful because, oh boy, in the 5 car is not as nice as this cat.
Nice. He's not nice. That other guy starting to race yet.
Yeah. He goes down the corner. He shoves him up. I mean, almost out of the wall in turns 1 and 2. Yeah. Takes the lead. Guy comes down the backstretch and pulls a us at the sports room. Said, you're not going to beat me like that. He hooks him and spins him. This other old boy comes down the backstretch wide open, because obviously receivers work in every division but the front wheel drive cars. Because I think when the cars are going bam, 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 they can't hear the receiver. Exactly. This dude smoked this guy head on. I mean, absolutely smoked him head on, destroyed him. Yeah. Ambulance had to come out. Thankfully he was okay, but big wreck there on the end of the race. So the cat that was running third ended up winning the race. So overall, really good trip. Made it you forgot to mention the factory stock race. The guy that won the race went backwards across the line. Oh yeah. I did forget about that. The guy in the factory stock race that I said fought off every single challenge, like literally got dumped coming off turn 4 and won the race. Actually, I think the other car beat him across the line, but since he spun him, his transponder on the left rear axle crossed the line before the other guy's left rear crossed the line. That's how they finished the factory stock race. So overall, it was a good trip to Talladega. We debated on staying down there, but with the snow coming in, and luckily we did just go ahead and come back, because it is a nightmare here in central Kentucky, southern Indiana, Louisville area. I mean, the weather guys were right for once, and we have a mess here, but made it back in time. We beat the weather, and another successful trip for the Trade and Sliders podcast crew.
The only other trip, we was talking about my wife's trip. I forgot to mention to everybody that the bleachers there, they're not like, once you get up in the bleachers, you're fine. It's just getting up to them, but I tripped up the stairs.
Yeah.
Not many people trip up the stairs, but I did, like 4 of them.
Yeah, Flash feels like he wrecked a car because he fell going up the steps, getting in the bleachers. And not only that, the guy
sitting next to us thought we'd been drinking.
Yeah. Well, not only that,
don't even drink.
The guy, Flash fell going up the bleachers. That's not even the funniest part. His wife fell going down the bleachers too. Not only did she fall in the parking lot, she frog splashed some lady at the bottom row, Eddie Guerrero style. Like Mamacita. She pulled a frog splash on this girl in the front row. Then that girl looked up like ready to fight, and then she helped Debbie up. And I was like, Jesus Christ, Debbie, you cannot stand up for nothing today. So that's how the trip to Talladega went. I didn't fall down, none at all. Tanya didn't fall down. The people that follow me on Snapchat, I did put a picture of her dressed like an Eskimo. If Tanya would have fell down, she wouldn't have been able to get back up. She'd have been like the boy on Christmas Story. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if Tanya would have fell down, she would have looked like the kid on Christmas Story, because she'd have been rolling around with all the clothes she had on. She wouldn't have been able to set back up. Because we thought 50 degrees was nice. She thought 50 degrees was a snowstorm. She was bundled up, ready for the races. But overall, good trip, good time, good fun. And we did get to watch the Wild West shootout on the way home. But wasn't a whole lot to say about that. Bobby Pierce took the lead when Garrett Albertson screwed up. And if you screw up leading, Bobby Pierce takes the win, and that's pretty much it. Only thing else we got left is upcoming races for next week. 2 events, well, 4 different events, but 2 events, totally. The Wild West shootout on Flow. It's on as we record this show on Sunday night. You have Flow Wednesday for the Wild West shootout, $10,000 to win. They had 47 Super Late models there, and 50-something mods. And don't sleep on the mods at the Wild West shootout. The mods at the Wild West shootout is it's modified racing to its best. But
you got guys like Rodney Sanders and you said, the high side ticklers there.
Yeah, Kyle Strickler's there, Rodney Sanders, Dustin Sorensen, Kay Dillard. Kay Dillard picked up the modified win last night. Dustin Sorensen came from 9th to 2nd. And he's won his last few modified starts of the year because he's going late model racing next year full time. So so you got the Wild West shootout Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. It's all on Flow. Check it out. I think they're starting at like 5:15, 6 o'clock roughly our time. They start hot laps because they're on Mountain Time, but they start to cater to us here on the East Coast, and then all those guys will trek and head down for the following week to Florida. Yep. But Saturday, if you want to check out some races in the area. The Hangover at I-75 Raceway, $5,000 to win. Super late models, 604 late models, $2,000 to win. The Hangover is scheduled as of now. I don't know how much of this weather they got because I know the snowstorm and ice storm went a little farther south than they originally planned. So we'll see. That's to be announced, to be determined. The Hangover race at I-75, $5,000 to win. Super late model race. Pretty much, if you're going down there, you're going to Corey Hedgecock's playground, and you better be ready to go because Corey Hedgecock is a masterful late model racer in East Tennessee. So, but that's what we have going on next weekend. Besides that, we're going to get off here and listen to this week's deep dives. It's one of our old racetrack segments. It's one of our first old racetrack segments. But this week's deep dive is Everybody loves Raymond Unconscious Johnson. It's time for the Trading Sliders Deep Dives presented by Kentucky Clutch and Performance. Let's take a trip down memory lane with the old racetrack segment.
We were there every Friday night when we were kids. We would sing along to "We Will Rock You" as they pulled out the pits. Did you pull for Blackwell or Harmon? Did you go just to see some carnage? Yeah, I still smile every time that I look back on it at the old racetrack.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, on this week's Deep Dive, none other than PRP's own Raymond Unconscious Johnson. What's going on, Raymond?
Oh, not a lot. How you guys doing tonight?
Well, we're doing good.
Doing good.
Thanks for coming on. You're our first old guy, so to speak. We're doing this thing called the Old Racetrack segment, where we're going to talk to a bunch of old racers. I don't really think you're that old, but
yeah.
You know, you're going into the Hall of Fame, so we're going to talk to you first. That's how we're going to do it here.
Well, if you're talking about old, you got me covered, bro.
Yeah. Before we get started, first thing, how's the grandpa life going?
How's the what?
How's the grandpa life going?
Oh, it's wonderful, man. There ain't nothing like them grandbabies. You know what I'm saying? They don't do no wrong.
Yeah.
And the wife, they really don't do no wrong with her.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what I was going to get into is...
I've got a new kid now. Mine stays at the house at least 3-4 nights a week.
Grandbaby?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he's 11 years old, but he still stays four nights a week.
They are awesome.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because a lot of people know you as Everybody Loves Raymond Unconscious Johnson, and now you're just kind of Matt's dad and Papa, huh?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. About like today around lunchtime, first Matt had called me and he said, "Dad, I might need you to run over to the house," which was my house because the grandbaby's at my house during Christmas break. They told us last week, "We're going to stay at your house for 2 weeks, Paul, since we're out of school." We ain't had a day. Matt said, "Dad, I might have to have you run to the house and check on Sissy's tooth. She had a loose tooth and it was bleeding." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you might have to go over and pull it out for us." So I called her up and I said, "Booty May, what's wrong with your tooth?" She said, "It's loose, Paul, it's bleeding." I said, "Well, just go on and get you an apple or something, bite into it, see if it comes out." About 2 minutes later, she called me back. She said, "I got it out, Paul. You don't got to come get
it." See, everybody loves Raymond.
Yeah, it was funny.
So throughout your career, we've got, I think 5. I'm doing this. I kind of made no. You see my paper? We don't have no paper. We just do everything off the top of our head.
Yeah, we're doing.
Yeah, we just ramble shit off, and if it's wrong, we don't tell nobody. They don't know no difference.
Yeah, we can make it. We'll make up on this show.
We make it sound good, can't we?
Yeah. So I think you won 5 track championships at the Sportsdrome, street stock track championships,
right?
An outlaw track championship at the Sportsdrome. And was it 2 or 3 championships at Louisville?
I think I won. I'll be honest with you. I was thinking about it on the way here because I thought, man, if he asked me this question, I'm gonna be dumbfounded. I think I won. I don't know how many I won. I think I won 5 street stocks at Sportsdrome, 2 at Charlestown, 2 at Louisville, and a modified outlaw at Louisville.
The outlaw was at Louisville.
Outlaw was at Louisville.
Okay. Yeah. So put it this way: he's won enough races that we're not going to question anything he says about the figure 8 car. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. First things first. Everybody, if I don't do this interview and I don't talk about this, I'm going to be the asshole. So, first things first. Everybody thinks you and Chris Harmon hate each other. Just put it out there.
Man.
Put this to bed for us because
we had our differences on the track, and that was flushed and gone. You know what I'm saying? From get go. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I let it go. Unfortunately, you know what I'm saying? I don't think Chris's dad. Rance had let it go, you know what I'm saying? But I idolized that guy when I was a kid. Yeah. Just like I told you earlier, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I had him drive my car one time, and there's much respect, you know what I'm saying? Rance is one of the best as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But, you know what I'm saying? It was a situation where I was pissed off when it happened, you know what I'm saying? And when it happened, when I did hit him, I didn't try to kill him, you know what I'm saying? His dad was Rance Dalton, and what's his wife's name?
Natasha.
No,
Marilyn.
Marilyn.
Yeah.
She hates me, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Rance don't hate me. He likes me. He just don't love me.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so I called him up to drive one of my cars one time, and from that point on, you know, he's one of the best as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. But mine and Chris' incident is a twin 45 lapper or something. And the year before, I'd had a better car, you know what I'm saying, a car that I'd built for Sports Drone that I'd sold to Gordon Denton. But anyhow, I didn't knock him out of the way when I passed him, you know, the year before while we was racing, you know what I'm saying. I didn't feel like they need to knock me out of the way passing me, you know what I'm saying. So I had a Louisville car over there, and they was wearing me out, you know what I'm saying. So and the first one we got together, cut a tire off or something, and I put the car back together, and I'm over jerking the front end out on the frame. I mean, jerking back end on the guardrail inside the pit. We had stuff we could straighten them with easy over there.
Yeah, Sports Drone had all kinds of weapons.
Oh, yeah. But
and tools.
Anyhow, old Big Frank said, no, you just sit out this race. You can come run the next race. And I thought at the time, well, what the hell is it going to do me any good if I win the next race? I still got a 20th finish out of the first one, you know what I'm saying?
So this is where Raymond's going to tell everybody he promises. This is my favorite part.
I told him, I said, you better have 2 ounces ready. He looked at me like I was dumbfounded. I told him, I said, you better have a couple ounces ready. It's going to get ugly. Because he was treating me like shit, you know what I'm saying? When he told me, you can run the next race, but as far as this one goes, you're parked for the night. So I just paced it just right. I just timed it just right on it. And I didn't read it for it to be as bad as it was. But had you seen the video, you probably thought, that dumbass, what are he trying to do? You know what I'm saying? It was pretty stupid, you know what I'm saying, on my part. But I did get their attention, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of people, because you go to the racetrack now, and I travel on the road now, so I'm not at the Drome. I go to Drome a couple times a year. But as soon as you walk in, everybody's like, that's still Chris versus Raymond.
Yeah.
Chris, and there is no Chris versus Raymond.
No,
I mean, you was in the clutch shop the other day.
Yeah.
But do you know how good it made both of you guys after that?
Oh, yeah.
Because your main thing every week was to beat that guy. Every single week, both of you. And
I bet Mike Gibson benefited from it.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I mean, just like, you know.
I mean, you guys did too, though. It's just drivers are working on the car, I think.
We got a little popularity out of it.
Yeah.
Well, see, and you know, the worst part about it, I mean, the bad part about it is, you know what I'm saying, everybody thinks me and Chris and me. I could call Chris right now. Just like a few years ago, we got ready to run a race up at Anderson, an oval race. I'd never been to the racetrack, you know, so I didn't know nothing about it. And Johnny Embry offered me a car to drive, and it had a Bobby Corbin's motor in it. And Big Todd, I said, man, what are we going to do? He said, let me make a phone call. So he called Chris up, and Chris gave us springs, shocks, whatever we needed, you know what I'm saying? And everybody thought, I thought Chris hated you. I said, Chris don't hate me. Chris knows I respect him, you know what I'm saying? But we went up there, and I started like 40th or 50th or something like that. About halfway through the race, I was leading it, boy, and I had that bitch aired out. Yeah. About that time, I come off the corner, going down the backstretch, and the motor turned loose. I just coasted down into the infield. Bobby Corbin said, what do you think? I said, that motor's gone, bro.
Yeah, that's all she wrote.
But yeah, but Chris, I mean, as far as that goes, you know, Chris is one of the best drivers I know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's versatile. You can put him in this car. You can put him in this car. He's gonna win. You know what I'm saying?
Well, see, I wanted to squash that right away because, you know, everybody knows I work for Chris, and you know, I helped Chris's son get started racing, and I'm actually my main goal is I want to interview you, and I want to interview Chris, and then I want to have an interview with you guys together, and we talk about a race story.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
So that's a go down the road, but I just wanted to squash that right off the bat because a lot of people don't understand, you know, especially the way social media is.
Oh, it's a good thing we didn't have social media back then.
That's what I was getting at. Because I'm just gonna go out and say this: if there was social media back then, you, Chris, Bobby to an extent, but not a whole lot. Tony Anderson, Roger Vincent, you guys never would have made it back into the racetrack.
Hell no.
Yeah. So all those years of racing. I don't know how to say this politically correct. Let me ask this the other way. All those years racing, do you feel like it's worth it when it was over?
Actually, if we had it all do over again, I probably wouldn't have changed nothing. You know what I'm saying? I just had so much fun. I guess from the time I was 10 or 11 years old, you know what I'm saying, my brother would come get me and I'd go help him work on his car. You know what I'm saying? And from that point, from being a little kid working on the cars, when it come time to being able to get into the pits, actually I wasn't even old enough to get into the pits. So Dale Clary took me in on the record, you know what I'm saying? So he'd get a couple people in. But from that time on, between Dale Clary, Bobby, and I mean, from just being at the racetrack, it inspired me to want to race, you know what I'm saying? And when I did start racing, I didn't know when to quit, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I was going to ask you because, you know, you say you didn't know when to quit. That's a fine line because I watched my dad stick around and race a little longer than he needed to.
Right.
I think I think you and Chris both kind of knew when it was time to step away. You guys were just like, you know what? That's it. I'm gonna go ahead and
Right.
We've been. Kurt's been telling me he's retiring for 5 years now.
He ain't retired.
Yeah, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
But just how hard is it to actually step away? Because like there for a while, when I started racing, my dad was like, I don't really want to go. I just now, he goes all the time, especially with Ricky still racing and stuff. But, was it hard for you when Matt started racing to be at the racetrack and be like, man, I still want to do it? Or was it just, we're concentrating on Matt now, that's what we're doing?
Well, actually, my cousin who got killed a couple years ago, Vernon Lee, he inspired me to go talk and find a car. He wanted to get back in it. So I told him, I said, man, I know where a good car is if you're interested. And so we go over and look at John John's car. And so, no, let me take it back. First of all, he wanted to build an oval car. So we went to auction, Allen's auction, bought a car and took it over in Big Todd and put a body on it and everything. So we got ready to run it on the oval. So we go over there, pre-season race, practice and stuff. And man, that guardrail, I wasn't used to racing against a guardrail, But racing figure eight all my life, So I went out there and hot lapped a few times and got the ass end up against the guardrail and bent the housing on the first practice session or whatever. Anyhow.
Well, it's not like Raymond was ever going to drive the car straight.
You didn't have the rubber rails that far enough, Raymond.
Right. So
I'm telling you from experience.
yeah, I need the rubber rails. Yeah. So anyhow, at that point, I told Matt, I said, take it down and see how you like it. And he fell in love with it. So he run that year, the oval car. So then the following year, we went and bought the car from John John. I thought, shit, I can still do this, But after we run, 4 or 5 weeks or 6, 8 weeks, and I had the last crash I had when it crushed my collarbone, I thought at that point, man, I've raced for 30 years, ain't never got injured,
Yeah.
But it's the first time I ever had a full containment seat,
Yeah.
And, my shoulder crushed my collarbone, all this stuff. But I think the most important part was Matt got ready to go out the night that, like 2 weeks before this happened. And he was starting, back in the middle of the pack or something. I made eye contact with him. And I told him, I said, do what you can do, I just think we just have a good finish. Next thing you know, he wins the race, He wanted to feature that night, so I go out and start my race, and I wanted to feature. And we pulled the cars up on, victory lane, head to head, and got the picture making. At that point, once I got that picture made, I thought, as long as I can see him do good, I'm happy. I'm ready. I can put him in this car, So I put him in, let him practice a couple times. I ain't had it back,
Well, that's not always a bad thing. No, that's not always a bad thing. So
he's doing a good job too.
Yeah, he's doing
a real good job.
Well, here's one thing I want to talk about because, you grew up in an era of racing the same way Kurt and I did. You had to build your own shit. You had to beg, borrow, and steal from everybody you know. And, guys, the kids nowadays, they just buy parts, boat them on, and race. They have no idea.
The very first time I ever met Raymond, probably, ever, we'd cut grass over at Brownsboro Road over there. So we was coming home, and I said, well, let's go by and see what Raymond and Bobby's doing, because he knew where they lived at. So we go down Brownsboro Road, turn up, go up this hill, and they're in the I guess kind of like a little subdivision up there. He's working on the cars out in the street. I mean, that's the first time I ever really met Raymond.
Yeah, and I'm telling you right now, his dad. And back then, just like you said, we had to make shit, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I went over and looked at Emel's car one night after him and Kurt, they spanked their ass weekly.
Yeah, I told people that's why I went and raced dirt. They were beating the shit out of me. I was like, I'm going to race dirt.
I went over and looked at Emel's car, and I looked at right up A-frame. I thought, what the hell's he got going on here? It looked like he took 3 A-frames and made one. But regardless what it looked like, his performance was 100, what I'm saying? So, and on top of that, one time I built this Cadillac Seville leaf spring car to go to Louisville and race, and I took it over to Louisville after the car show, and they said don't even bring it back. Roger Procrafters put the cage in, and it was sitting in the back seat. Had a 7-foot steering column in it and all this shit. But anyhow, we raced it one time, and we took it to Salem. Bobby raced it, and on the way in there, we're unloading. Here you got these guys who's rolled around toolboxes and everything, and we get there late, and me and Big Todd being in, everybody's unloading what parts we did have. Wade Johnson helped us on, bless his heart. And we're pitted beside Kimmel, on the backstretch at Salem. Big Todd's unloading this milk crate, and he sets it down on the floor ground. He says, ask Kimmel, could we use his air if we needed it? He said, yes, according to where you're running at. Yeah. Well, about 30 laps into the race, little Bobby had that bitch aired out on the outside. Yeah. He blowed past Kimmel down the backstretch, and Bill looked over at Todd. He said, no air for y'all. No. But I sold that car to Emil, and I mean, it was a cool car with it.
Well,
we ran that thing for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny thing talking about Bobby at Salem, the first time I ever ran Salem, it was a Halloween race, and my dad's like, just pace yourself, and it's like lap 1, I have a flat, and I pull in the pits, and Dad, I don't know where the hell he's at, so I pull down, and Bobby changes my tire. Bobby's there with Pat Pierce, I think, somebody, I don't know. So Bobby changes my tire and goes, well, you're a lap down, you got to make it up now. So I pulled out on the track, and I'm going balls to the wall. I made about 9 laps in the Halloween race.
Right.
Big wreck, need a clip. And my dad goes, I thought you said take it easy. I said, I've already pitted once. Where the hell was you at?
Hey, that's funny because you said your first race at Salem was a Halloween race.
Yeah.
Well, I only raced one time at Salem, and it was a Halloween race. I started 66. I finished 6th. I actually finished 5th because Vincent Arnold, they give him 5th, but
well, he didn't hear him to tell him to go back.
Right. Well, my crew was working on his car for 10 laps in the pits. But anyhow, I started 66. I finished 6th, and that place, it's awesome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like to have a good car and go up and run.
It's a fun place.
Yeah. Now, back then, you could go up there, like we could take our figure 8 and street stock cars
And
go
be
up
competitive.
Yeah. Now there's no chance in hell.
No.
Yeah. Now you need a $75,000 street stock car, and you're still racing for the same $1,200. So, it's Salem is a place that is different.
Right.
Oh,
different
yeah.
to say the least. All the years you were kind of always the Sportstrom guy. Then they, Louisville was built, and there for a while. You were the guy to beat at Louisville, and then you had 3 or 4 years that it wasn't. But then you started driving for Jim, and you and Calvin. How was it driving that equipment?
Man,
Because
it was unbelievable. I can tell you, from the get-go, I lived over by Churchill Downs. I had my own car. And Huey Darnell, he would come over to my house. Well, I took the motor out to get ready for a 100 lap or something. And Huey comes over, I got the transmission turned upside down, I'm changing the pan gasket, filter, whatever on it. He looked at my car and he threw his hands up on his hips, and he said, God damn, Raymond, you ain't got much of a car here, do you?
Yeah.
And I said, no, Huey, that's all I got. He said, well, it sure is fast. Well, and I had the motor and transmission out of it at the time, anyhow. He said, I might get you practice old Greeny. Raymond, you have any problem practicing? Because Calvin, he's way up in Lexington, he's going to be a little bit before he gets here. You think you can practice this car for us? I think he'd change the head gasket or something on him. I said, I'd love to, Huey. But we was parked like on the opposite side of the driveway at Louisville. And man, and I thought he was just talking, you know what I'm saying? But he come over after my first practice session. He said, come on, Raymond, take his car out. Man, I took that car out. First lap, I drove around the turn. I thought, damn, it's stuck. I'm going to drive in a little deeper. So I took it out there, and he said, Raymond, what do you think about that car? I said, Huey, I love that car. So, and I was just practicing for Calvin, you know what I'm saying? So Calvin shows up, and I don't even think you can practice, you know what I'm saying? We went out and set fast time, like 2 or 3 tenths, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the following year, I was driving for Bobby Tarter. We didn't have a very good, setup on the car, whatever, anyhow. Come up for a 100 lapper, or triple 50. And Hugh had asked me during the week if I would be interested in driving Greeny. And I said, I'd love to. So we go out there, and I qualified. I was in the first one. They take an odd and even qualifier or something. I was in the first one. And so I don't know where he even started. But anyhow, I know I was leading that bitch, you know what I'm saying? And I had a straightaway lead on the field, and the torque converter transmission, the torque converter and flywheel blowed out of it, come up through the floorboard and that. And anyhow, so just so happened I was running 10th in points. And I went over and asked Robert, I said, man, if I get this car fixed, can I run? He said, yeah, you're guaranteed a starting spot. Well, I sent 3 or 4 people this way. Tony Anderson, somebody went this way getting the flywheel. Somebody went this way getting a torque converter and transmission, whatever, anyhow. And before I did that, take it back, before I sent anybody out looking for parts, Jimmy French told me, said, yeah, you can fix it. I said, if I fix the car, can I run it? He said, yeah. He said, but I only want you and Benny underneath of it. I don't want nobody else underneath the car. So, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you the truth, you know what I'm saying? So I'm up underneath there, and me and Benny's taking it apart, and I look up and back that crankshaft. After I took that flywheel off, I thought, God damn. You know what I'm saying? It had some kind of cowlays or some kind of shit in it at the time. I thought, maybe that's what he didn't want nobody to see.
Well, the funny thing is, you talking about Greeny, that was the first car I ever drove. Because I was, after high school, I got out of school, I'd go over to Huey's every day. I was running around with Frankie at the time. He lived next door.
Yeah.
So we go over to Huey's, and hell, Huey taught me a lot of stuff about fabricating. My dad taught me everything I know, but, Huey's like, well, you do it like this. So I worked for Huey for about a year for free.
He's awesome.
And, we went over to Louisville. It's about the same story. He's like, "You been thinking about racing?" I was like, "Well, yeah." I said, "But you know, my dad said I had to finish high school before we started racing, and it was like my junior year." And he goes, "Well, Thursday, you think about driving Calvin's car?" So we went over to the racetrack. It was me, friend. Jim had no idea that I was in the car. Calvin had no idea I was in the car. So I'm over there, and Andy Vertrees rides up in the the little golf cart he rides around in. Andy rides out on the front stretch and making the cut it off sound. So I stopped, and he said, "What?" I said, "What?" He goes, "Huey says you're going way too fast. You're not making no laps. Pull that bitch in the pits."
Did he?
Yeah. So I ran about 40 laps out there, and Huey said, "All right, Puck, that's enough. We're not going to get."
Hey,
so that was the first race car I ever drove of anything.
Yeah.
Was that car?
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was. So that's funny. You said, I think that was Huey's community car.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huey was like, "Oh yeah, everybody can drive this."
Man, Huey was awesome. Huey.
So,
and following, finishing that up, so I put the car together, went ahead and put it together, and I had started on the tail of the main 50. So I thought, I'm going to air this bitch out. The car handled like a dream. So anyhow, about 25, 30 laps into it, I'm passing Calvin for the lead, you know what I'm saying? I see sparks flying up off the car, and I thought, man, I hate to turn one of these cars up, you know what I'm saying, racing my car over, you know what I'm saying? I thought, I'm going to get fired before I get hired. But anyhow, and they hadn't hired me, I hadn't drove, I was just a one-time deal. But anyhow, so I eased him up a little bit, and I took the lead. A couple laps later, got clipped in the sixth. But I still think I finished third, but the car was unbelievable. So the following year, they gave me the opportunity to drive for them. And man, I'm telling you what, that was a turning point, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that was the funny thing about that. So I was building my first car, the next year. And Huey's like, "Man, you can use anything you want, And so I'm building my first car, and Rick Harper was making all the front end parts for that car, because Huey loved this car, but he kept it up in the front garage. Like that car stayed up front, and Calvin and your car ended up in the back garage. So Huey brings this whole crate of parts over to Rick Harper, and I'm building my first car, and I told Rick, I said, "I don't care what you make an extra set of it, and I'll figure out where that shit goes once I get home." I said, "If Huey wants you to make it, you make extra, and I'll figure out where that shit goes when I get up."
And man, you talking about that front garage. A lot of people didn't know that, though, you know what I'm saying, where Huey kept that good car.
Yeah.
Well, just so happens, the carpet guy, AAA carpet cleaning guy, Roger Vincent.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know that they was offering to sell the car that at the beginning of the year is a Buick, you know what I'm saying? I took a 4-door body and made a 2-door body out of it. It was slick. Huey said, "Raymond, I think they're going to sell this car." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, you get the one to run out of the shop, the front shop." So he brought that new car back, and I thought, "Are you serious?" You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Hey, that car was so bad.
Well, people don't understand that front shop is where I learned how to use a tubing bender, a sheet metal brake. That's where I learned how to use all that stuff.
Is that right?
Yeah, Huey. I don't know why he liked me. I have no idea, but he just did.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? So Huey was a hero of mine because, well, I think the main reason why Huey liked me because Frankie and Murray always wanted to run around, and I was always like, "I'm going over to the shop." While they went and ran around, I went to the shop. So Huey took a liking to me. But speaking of Huey, I remember one time Huey said, told a story on Raymond, and he goes, "Puck, I'm gonna tell you what. Raymond is the busiest son of a bitch I know to have nothing going on."
Hey, let me tell you a little saying he told me one time. It was funny. We was there shopping. We did something, you know what I'm saying? I tore something up, or I don't even know. I might have had a good finish. He come over to me, he had that one hand on his hip, he threw his other hand, he put on my shoulder. He said, "Raymond, if I could have got a hold of you when you was about 8 years old, I could have did something with you, boy, but you're too far gone." Hey. But Huey Darnell, and man, I got this little thing from his funeral pinned up in there. He's with me every day.
Yeah.
But Huey Darnell was a unique individual. You know what I'm saying? He could put his eyes on something and think about what it would do in order to make it happen, and he would make it happen. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing about Huey, we'll get off this, but so I wanted to build a 3-link for my street stock car. So I come up with this bracket, and it's going to be badass. So I take it, and I say, "All right, Huey." Huey had that rear end jig there where he put the rear brakes on. I said, "All right, Huey, I want you to check this out. I got a hell of an idea." Huey puts it up on her and goes, "Pup, you want the rear end to be solid? Because that's what it's going to be. I said, damn, I didn't think about that.
He's unbelievable.
He goes, just run the 4-link and let me get you some bushings. He said.
Right.
But
matter of fact, when we do this Hall of Fame thing, you know, a couple years ago, you know, saying before Martha passed away, bless her heart, she come to my shop. I was working at an automotive specialist, and I heard somebody say, "Where's Raymond at?" And I could hear the voice. I knew the voice, but I didn't realize who it was at the time. You know what I'm saying? Until I come out from underneath the hood I was working on, and she was holding an umbrella with a bag on it, and it was the championship. Huey Darnell championship coat, the jacket that I won him from the year we won the points. I'm gonna wear it when we go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's I'm glad you said that. 'Cause I'm going to segue into that. The Kentucky Motorsports Hall of Fame. You're part of the first class, first inductee. How cool is it to go into not only a Hall of Fame, but a Hall of Fame at a place that sponsored you forever? It's over at Clark's, and you know how cool is it to just be, you know what? It worked out. Everything we did, all the sacrifices we made, you know, it was for a good reason. How cool is that?
Man, I tell you what, it's unbelievable. Like last night, to be honest with you, for the past couple of nights, I've been thinking about, you know, Matt keeps telling me, "Daddy, you gotta have a speech. You gotta have a speech." Man, I can't have. I don't know about talking. You know what I'm saying? I get all emotional and so when I go think about all that. Matter of fact, when I seen that inductee into the Hall of Fame, it brought tears to my eyes. You know what I'm saying? So I thought, it's gonna be cool. You know what I'm saying? We'll have a good time. But in order for me to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I seem that it's not only me. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just me. It took a lot of people for me to have the accomplishments that I've had throughout the years. You know what I'm saying? From Bobby Tarter to Jerry Brown to Pat Pierce to Murray Beard to Gene Cummins, Roger Procrest. It's just a number. I could keep on going and going of people who've helped me accomplish what I accomplished in my career. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't just me. You know what I'm saying? My brothers, my family, my wife, my kids, everybody helping me do the things I had to do in order to get what I got. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of emotional when I think about it because a lot of them ain't here with us no more. You know what I'm saying? Like Huey and my brothers. And but in order to be inducted into something such as the Hall of Fame, like I'm getting ready to be, I don't know how to expect what to expect. You know what I'm saying? But I know it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good time, and I'm gonna sport my Huey Darnell jacket, and the ones that like it. The ones that don't can get lost. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, the crazy thing about the whole thing is when Rick Irwin told me he was putting this deal together, we kind of talked a little bit, and he's actually got a whole lot of really great plans for this. And shout out to Clark for letting him use this place. And I think Clark's going to really, because he's got the collector's building over anyways. So it's it's something that probably should have happened years ago. Right. But it just, everybody talks about what should have happened. And, Irwin was the one that said, you know what, we're going to make this happen. So, shout out in the local community, shout out to Rick Irwin for, spearheading this. There's a lot that goes into it. Mike Gibson's a supporter. There's a lot of stuff that went on behind the scenes that a lot of people have no idea what even went on.
Right.
But I'm super proud that there's a local figure eight racer, into the first Kentucky Motorsports Hall of Fame, because there could be a lot to be said with Indianapolis being the home of figure eight racing. That they can claim that, but in the 90s, I will say this: we had the best figure eight drivers in the country. We may not have had the best race cars because we didn't have the high dollar race cars, but as far as like Louisville Sportsdrome, there was not better figure eight racing in the country.
There wasn't better racing
anywhere.
No, we would have anywhere from 24 to 48 cars. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times we had two features. You know what I'm saying? And I could see we could talk. I don't think your episode lasts long enough. We could talk about the good times and the bad times. You know what I'm saying? But and the competitors.
That's just like when you raced at Louisville. When you started racing at Louisville on Friday nights, we'd work all week to get our car done by Thursday night, so we could go watch Raymond race on Friday.
And some of them,
my dad.
And back then though, sometimes I'd run the same car Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. Sometimes I'd wreck it on Friday night. Fix for Saturday night, wreck it on Saturday night, fix for Sunday night. You know what I'm saying? But
I've seen Raymond with the clip off on Saturday morning and make it to the racetrack that night.
That's what I'm saying. I clipped my car.
More than once.
Yeah, I clipped my car twice in one weekend just to wreck again Sunday at Whitesville. It's like I've done that twice in one weekend.
I'm telling you what, one time I wrecked at the Sportsdrome, and Buddy Vertrees and 6 or 8 other guys. You know what I'm saying? Buddy was the one I talk about the most because he's the only one that stayed up with me to finish it. You know what I'm saying? We got the car. We thought 3/4 way ready for the body, and we both stand back to back of the car. And Buddy looked at it, and I looked at it. He looked at me. I looked at him. He said, "That bitch is crooked." So we just took a torch, cut 3/4 of an inch out one side of the frame rail, come along forward. Went to the sports dome the next night and spanked them. You know what I'm saying? I went to Charlestown. Sorry, I wrecked on Saturday night. Went to Charlestown. Buddy didn't go. You know what I'm saying? He was wore out. Well, just so happened the car was solid black. And Roger at Pro Crafters had a black Impala. So when we took a picture of it, Roger said, "Where'd you get the car at?" Yeah. But, I mean, you know, things like that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, throughout the years, it's unbelievable, you know what I'm saying? And in order to be inducted into this Hall of Fame thing, I'm very fortunate and thankful for the work that Rick and Mike and Nick, you know what I'm saying? Nick's been with me for 40 years, it seems like.
Hey!
Yeah. But he's the most unbelievable man there is, you know what I'm saying? One time, I got ready to run the car, and I called him. He said, "Raymond, I'm going to be honest with you." He said, "I don't have a whole lot of cash in my pocket right now." He said, "But you can bring your guys up here. Y'all can scrap. Whatever you scrap, I'll split it with you 50-50. Well, me and Benny, and I don't think Matt was probably 10 or 12, 13, 14 years old, something like that. But anyhow, we all went up there. You know what I'm saying? He gave us a couple torches and showed us what we could cut up. And next thing you know, I cut up $3,000 worth of scrap, and he gave me $1,500.
Yeah, that's the best sponsor you had in a long time.
Nick's helped me out numerous times too.
Nick's
here and there. He just, "Hey man, you need some help with something?" I was like, "Well, I could use this." He's like, "Okay, here you go."
Yeah, you know? He is such a good person.
Yeah.
When you talk about Nick, and you know, you mentioned Pro Crafters, and we talked about Huey and like Old Man Pike, and like I tell people this all the time. I never would have made it to the racetrack if it wasn't for Huey Darnell teaching me everything. Huey and my dad taught me everything, but like Terry Ilmore over at Dixiana, I would stop by and see Terry. I welded some A-frames up for him one night. He had a style in his eye, and he had to get these A-frames done. So I welded them up. I bet I got 50 sets of shocks because of welding those 4 A-frames up. Yep, every time I stop by, "Hey, try these new shocks, try these." Right. And for forever, I thought Del Baum didn't know how to count. Right. I buy 5 gallons of fuel and get 10 gallons every week. So, there's so many guys that we talk about that just made the racing community kind of like a family.
Right.
Yeah. You talk about we've had issues with so-and-so, and, we've wrecked this guy, and this guy's wrecked this guy. But when it's all over and done, like you talking about Buddy stayed there and helped you. The Louisville, Kentucky area was a family. I've seen Chuck Winders and Chuck Barnes wreck together, and the next week, somebody get into Winders and Barnes was the first one down there. You know what I'm saying? Right. So
yeah, that's another. I mean, that man Chuck Winders is. I mean, he's unbelievable. He was an unbelievable man until the day he died. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's just like I don't think there's. I mean, all of us probably. There probably ain't one person that we had problems with that we can't go talk to right now. If we want to walk up to him and talk to. It's just the way racing was back. Right. I mean, it still is, but I mean,
hell, one of my first races, I about ran Kurt to U-tires. We go on vacations together.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? The bad times go, the good times still happen.
Yeah.
But we, still to this day, you know what I'm saying? If I'm at the track and I see somebody in need of some help, I go help them, you know what I'm saying? And our competitors, and Matt gets mad at me every once in a while. I said, "Dad," like a couple years ago, we helped Mike Berry put a motor in. He spanked our ass. You know what I'm saying? He said, "Dad, see what you did?" I said, "Man, I'd expect some help out of him if we needed it." And you know what I'm saying? Like, Shelton, Isgrig, you know what I'm saying? If something happens to a car, I'll be the first one to help him.
Well, it's funny you say that because I tell everybody that my little brother reminds me a lot of you.
Right.
He'll drive the car sideways and make up ground. I have no idea how.
We're still trying to figure it out ourselves.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, I'm thinking, Ricky, if you just slow the hell down, you'll be a half second faster. But he reminds me a lot of you. Like, he gets a bad rap at the racetrack. Like, you got a bad rap at the racetrack. But you're also the same guy that's, like Ricky, there's some old boy down there crashed a Ford, and Ricky, is late to his race because he's down there trying to help this guy pull a clip out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, figure eight racers is just different.
When I grew up, Raymond's only like a year older than me. Yeah. I mean, at the most. But he started racing before I did, I think, a little bit. And I was back in the pits watching them guys, they crash their car and their car be torn to pieces, and they're over there helping somebody else try to get their car back together while their guys are working on their car. And
What's like
Raymond can do stuff in the pits fixing cars that I've never seen anybody do, and I think that's where I get part of mine from, how we made it so good. Because we never had no good stuff.
Right.
All our stuff is junk.
That's what I'm saying about like an A-frame on your dad's car. You know what I'm saying? An A-frame
That's
was
what
like
I said. You had to make your stuff then. So
I was fortunate enough. My dad worked at Fontaine, so I could get any type metal I want.
Yeah.
And Huey let me use anything. So I had nice shit. I just didn't have expensive shit. I had whatever I could make.
Yeah, that's what it was. We had to make whatever you could make is what you could do
Hey,
back
look,
then.
after seeing his dad's A-frame one time, everybody was talking about leveling the ball joints up and everything. So I took two stock up A-frames, right? Instead of cutting the rivets out of it, I thought, I'm going to do something little trick. So I cut it right behind the ball joint, you know what I'm saying? And I just leveled it out and wheeled it back up. So Robert Watkins come over and he said, what the hell's up with this A-frame? I said, man, I'm going to tell you right. I'm going to be honest with you. So my son says, usually, Dad, when he says, I'm being serious now, something getting ready to have a lie. So I told Robert Watkins, I said, look here, I'm going to be honest with you. One had good set of bushings in it, and one had good ball joint in it. I said, I just cut the end off of it, that one with the good ball joint, and I welded the one with good bushing. He said, get that A-frame off first.
Well, it's funny you said that because I remember the first feature I won at Louisville Speedway. They come over and he goes, I really hate to do this, but we're going to pull the head tonight. I said, we ain't pulling my head tonight. He goes, oh man, I guess I'll disqualify you. I said, I'm racing tomorrow. And he goes, well, Andy said they'll pay for head gaskets. I said, well, you go get head gaskets, and me, you, and Andy will put it back together tonight, and I'll race. We can pull it whatever we want. And Andy come over and goes, it's his first win, let him go. And when we left, Dad said, what was you going to do if they put out head gaskets? I said, I guess we're going to get disqualified for dome pistons.
Hey, let me tell you a little story we had that same way. I built this. I wrecked the week. It was like 2 weeks after Rance drove my car at Louisville. You know, it unfortunately got destroyed. They left the car sitting out in the infield, and Rance got clipped at the intersection, and it destroyed my little Chevelle. But anyhow, no hard feeling. So anyhow,
you hear that, Rance? No hard feelings on his end. You gotta let it go.
No, you let it go, Marilyn. You know what I'm saying? Let it go. But anyhow, still, I tell you right now, Rance is one of the best I ever seen, other than his son Chris. But anyhow. So I took everything out of that Chevelle and I put in a 65 or 6 Impala. We built the oval car. Well, my brother Benny was, to this day, when he was like 95%, you know what I'm saying, until he got disqualified, got barred out and everything else because they tried to claim the car. But anyhow, make a long story short, you talk about that motor deal. Well, Benny won. It was a 50-lap rookie invitational. Benny spanked them. So the deal was they wanted to tear the car down. I said, no, we're not going to tear it down. I plan on running the next night. You know what I'm saying? So I said, started draining the water out of it. They thought we started tearing it down and everything. And I told him, I said, so I'm going to tell you right now, just park it in the garage right here. Leave it here overnight. After I come back, we'll come back tomorrow. After I spank one tomorrow night, we'll tear it down. You pay me for both nights. I'm glad he didn't go for it because you know what I'm saying? We had salt lifters in or something. But anyhow, so anyhow, when they disqualified us, so I went home. I called Gino the next morning to Auburndale, and I said, Gino, I got a problem. He said, what? I said, I'm going to run tomorrow night. Tonight at Louisville, and these lifters, they're going to tear us down regardless. I said, we can probably finish third or fourth. They're going to tear us down because I made them look stupid last night, you know what I'm saying? So anyhow, I went out there and he hooked me up with these anti-pump-up lifters or Rhodes or something, anyhow. So I put them in there, and sure enough, I went back the next night and spanked them in the A feature, you know what I'm saying? This Impala was too cool. So anyhow, everybody's like, is he going to tear it down? Is he going to tear it down? I said, yeah, we're going to tear it down. You're going to pay me for last night? He said, no, you got disqualified for last night. I said, you're going to pay me tonight, though. So, because I knew it was legal, you know what I'm saying? Other than the board of the stroke, they didn't know nothing about that.
They don't know about that.
So, yeah. So I pulled the intake off of it. They pumped it and checked the motor and everything. He said, you know, you got to pull one of them lifters out. So, sure enough, I just backed the rock arm on, pulled that lifter out, laid it on the ground, smacked it with a hammer.
Yeah.
He said, what? I said, I said, you just watch. Bam! I smacked that lifter out pop a spring.
Yeah.
Robert said, what are you doing that for? I said, there's your lifter. It's hydraulic, ain't it? I said, pay me.
Yeah.
He said, I ain't paying you for last night. I said, but it was funny, you know what I'm saying? But I knew at the time, Friday night, I couldn't tear that motor down, you know what I'm saying? But I played dumb, you know what I'm saying? I said, just leave it sit here. Put it in your boot, in your garage right there. Just leave it there. We'll come back tomorrow. I'll tear it down. Y'all pay us for both nights. They didn't go it.
My dad said, well, what are you going to do if Andy went and got head gaskets? I said, I guess we would have tore some of it down. He got disqualified.
Yeah.
That's what we would have done. There's no way, if he would have showed up with them, there's no way I wasn't tearing it down.
I blew a head gasket at the drone one night, and Ron Toole was there beside me, so I pulled the head off of it, you know, and Toole, he had a big motor at the time, had real good stuff. So I pull the head off of it, and my dad runs home to get a head gasket and stuff like that, and Ron comes walking over, And he goes, how the hell you do that? I said, what are you talking about? He said, you got 4 different pistons in there. They got different domes and everything.
Really?
So that's all I had. They just match on the other side.
377.
Hey, and
He couldn't believe it stayed together.
I'll tell you what, back in them days, Emo and Curb would run 1, 2, and they had their cars. You could look at them and tell they wasn't as highly financed as some of these race against. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just telling you, they had the right combination.
Well, you don't become the Kurt and Emo show by just riding around in the back.
Oh, hell no.
I mean, that's not how it works.
No, but I'm telling you what, it's fortunate that I can imagine how fortunate Kurt was with racing with his dad, or his dad was with racing with his son. You know what I'm saying? Me and Matt's got to race a couple times together.
That's what I was going to ask you. It'd be cool if y'all get to race a little bit more together. But
That's what
we probably, me and my dad probably got a million laps around the place. We tear tires off in practice. We cut each other's tires down practicing.
I got to race with my dad a few times. Back when I started racing dirt, he took a car. But one funny story, man. David Pate. So Louisville was, when nobody knew Louisville was closing at the time, but David called me and said, hey, you want to run this Bomber figure 8 car? And I was running a street stock at the time. I said, yeah. So I went, like, Chris won the World 300, the last figure 8 race. But I won the Bomber feature. I won the last race in Louisville Speedway history. I won the Bomber feature that night. So David says, they got a big it's figure 8 madness or something at the Drome. You want to run my car? And I was supposed to be going around dirt. I said, yeah, sure. So I get there. And my dad's got the rollback, and he's got the car that I was going to drive and David's car. My dad said, yeah, David's got to go to a wedding, so I'm driving his car. I said, okay. So this first time I ever raced with my dad. So Dad qualifies first, I qualify third. I do a total invert. We get up through the field. I'm going to hit everything on the racetrack, and he's got like a straightaway ahead of me, And caution comes out. There's like 20 laps to go. So I'm starting behind him, and we take off. And I don't know if it's somebody hit me, knocked me sideways, and I brake checked him because I was pissed,
Right.
So Dad has got, now it looks like I'm wrecking for him. He's got a whole straightaway lead. Well, it turns into a half track lead. I'm racing my ass off to hold on second, and we're coming through the intersection, and they give us 2 to go, and I'm coming, and I got a whole field of cars. My dad's got a lead so damn big.
Half track lead.
We go through the intersection first time, I about hit him. I thought, I'm not braking for his son of a bitch. I mean, he's got a lead. And I'm racing for my life. So we come in next time, and I see the white flag waving. We go through the intersection, ting!
He clipped you.
No, I clipped him.
Oh.
I look over my shoulder, he's going left, right. If I get into the other turn, the caution light comes on. He's backed into the wall. He won the race, and I hit him in the X. He backed into the wall.
So going to the flag.
Yeah. So David got there like 3 laps to go in the feature. He goes, well, we won the feature. Your car needs a radiator, and his car needs a rear clip. I appreciate that. I said, oh my God, my dad's going to be so pissed.
Oh, man.
And I pull up over there, and he's got, laughing ear to ear. He goes, I figured you'd brake for me. I said, I was running second. Why didn't you brake for me?
Well, me and Matt we did get to race one time together. And he was driving the car that I got, that Jimmy French had gave me, the modified car, and I was driving Todd Hash's car. Well, I knew the only way I was going to be able to get him was slow him down a little bit, right? So there was a mud puddle down there in the left-hand turn, down there in the pit turn. I thought, well, I'm going to have to slow him down somehow, so I'd ease off in there, and I'd drag that water up on the track, right? Well, by the time I got back to it, it was already dry, you know what I'm saying? Still to this day, you can ask him about it. He'll tell you.
This is why Raymond would make a good dirt racer.
Yeah. I got a story about him racing dirt.
He'll say, yeah, he cheated. He threw water up on the track. It was funny, though. But, I mean, I can imagine the guys like Kurt and Emil that got to race a lot of time with a father and son.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, my dad never was into racing or nothing like that. But, you know what I'm saying? I can understand how much fun it would be, you know what I'm saying, on a weekly basis like they did. But I couldn't imagine spitting my dad, Matt spin me out, I'm whooping his ass, you know what I'm saying?
Well, was you there the night my dad put me on the wall?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I turned off the corner off the X. I was going to hit him head on. I was like, you know what? This be stupid. I said, if I fix them, I gotta fix both of these some bitches.
Right.
Well, funny thing, so they had a big figure 8 race down at Windy Hollow Speedway.
Oh, you want to talk about going swimming now?
So Raymond gets there and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, my dad's gonna run a figure 8 car, and I've been running dirt then." And
hey, hold on. And all week long, everybody been talking about who's the first one gonna go in the pond. So you go ahead and tell them.
Well, I'm gonna tell the good side of the story first.
Okay.
So when we get there, we go through tech. They got a $3,000 street stock race, and I'm not legal. So there's one person in the pits that helps me change all 4 shocks and springs and dismounts 4 tires. Raymond helped me do that.
Yeah.
So we worked on the car. And so they're running the figure 8 race, and they pull us up on the outside. So they're running the figure 8 race, and my dad and Raymond, and my dad done wreck. My dad was over on the backstretch, and I think Raymond, there was a wreck in the intersection. Raymond went to cut around. I think it may have been Roy Douglas or something.
Man.
And Raymond drove straight into the pond at Windy Hollow Speedway.
You ain't lying.
So, I mean, he went nose in. And so my dad's like the first one there, and I'm outside the track, so I run over there. And Raymond, he's got water all over him, and it's all slimy. He's like, "Help me out, dog, help me out." And my dad goes, "You ain't so damn cocky now, are you?"
Hey, the funny part about it, the crazy part about it was, well, poor Mike Kessler, I mean, I appreciate you offering me a ride. I didn't mean to tear your car up like that. But anyhow, everybody been talking all week long about who's the first person to go in the pond. I thought, I hope it ain't me. And sure enough, man, everybody checked up. The track was so muddy. I locked the brakes up and went right off into the pond. Well, I'm watching the gauges going underwater, and I'm seeing the water level coming up. And that's the first time I wore a set of belts that had the sternum plates in them. Oh, yeah. And here I think I'm going to drown in the damn race car. So
I told Raymond, he's like, "I'm going to drown. I said, "Raymond, the pond's 2 foot. You're not going to drown in the pond."
Hey.
So we helped Raymond get out of the pond.
Yeah, they helped me get out of the pond. Then the record driver pulls up there, and he's got a chain in his hand. He's looking at the car. I said, "Give me a chain." I took the chain. I just drove back in, jumped back in the water, hooked the car up, pulled it out. Hey, it's funny because we was just talking about this last week, a couple weeks ago at the auction. Them Hagen boys.
Yeah.
They give me a pair of shoes. They're like 12. I worked at the time. I think I wore 9.5 or 10.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I mean, it was thoughtful. They were dry. But anyhow, we drained the oil. We didn't drain transmission fluid and tore up my transmission. I apologize. But anyhow, so we drained the oil and everything in. We was going to get back out there. We made it back out there before the race over with. I could hear the people in the stands going crazy.
It was so
hey, I
fun.
thought I was going to drown that damn car. But hey, it's funny because that day when we got there, before the pits even opened, if you remember, there was a little bitty deer.
Yeah, the baby deer, we tried to catch it in the pits. Yeah. Me and Raymond we chased down a deer, and the deer got caught up in the fence. And it was an electric fence.
Yeah.
Raymond put his hand on it and was like, "Son of a bitch!"
Shocked the piss out of me. Yeah. Hey, I'm glad somebody else remembered that. Yeah, that's some fun shit.
Yeah, we chased the deer down in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, and they got hung in the fence.
But I will say Raymond was the one that helped me because I went through tech and they must have known that was the year that I won 54 features and the word was out on the street. Yeah. They wasn't gonna let me run nothing.
Yeah. It was that black Chevelle, wasn't it?
No, it was the black and yellow Impala.
Yeah, black and Impala.
Yeah. So
that Chevelle was a bad boy too.
It's still sitting in my mom's on jack stands.
Is it really?
Yeah, my dad's been talking to me, and I think I'm gonna bring it home and make a rat rod out of it, make a street rod out of it, just drive around to the car shows. So
is that right?
It's still sitting there just like it was the first time I went to the track.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's when I retired.
That's a cool car.
I blew up 2 motors in one race. I was like, you know what? I'm done.
Right.
Yeah, I just got thinking about something though. It's kind of off subject, but there's a show about Raymond. But I think Raymond's brother might have been better than him, Bobby, because man, I drove a car one night. Bobby was gone on vacation somewhere, and he was driving a car for Graveyard down there.
Yeah.
Down here. And he goes, "Man, you want to drive this car while Bobby's gone?" I was like, "Figure 8 car." I never drove figure 8. And it was a modified figure 8 car. I said, "Yeah, I'll drive it that night." So I get in this car, and I can't hardly fit in it anyway. And that thing was all over the place with me in it. And Bobby would go out there and run second or third in it every night. I'm driving this thing, and my helmet is bouncing off the halo bar right here on the side. I'm like, if I get hit in this thing, I'm going to die. I'm not going to make it.
You guys scared Kurt out of figure 8.
Yeah,
I don't want no part of it.
I was done with it after that.
Hey, I'm telling you, he was impressive. You know what I'm saying? I can remember, here just a couple months ago, or right before Christmas, he was doing that at Jingle Tree or whatever it was for Fox 41 and for Home of Innocence. Well, I actually was a Home of Innocence kid at one time for a couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? When I had my mom, my stepdad, I couldn't get along with him. But anyhow, make a long story short, I'd been working on helping Bobby build this race car. Well, in the meantime, I had to go to Home of Innocence for a couple of weeks till my dad got custody of me. So Bobby brought the race car down to the Home of Innocence, you know what I'm saying, on the outside of the fence, and all these little kids, you know what I'm saying, I'm the oldest one there, I'm 12, 13 years old, and all these little kids, 8, 9, 10 years old, that was come from families that was really having problems. Mine wasn't that big of a deal on things.
Yours is just you being a little prick.
Right, right. But what was funny about it was I could be standing half court, I had a little basketball court, I could stand at half court, I could throw his ball and hit it down there every time. They thought I was Larry Bird or something, you know what I'm saying? But anyhow.
Little did they know, he has no athletic bone in his body.
Right, but Bobby, he was a good driver, you know what I'm saying?
I remember when he drove at Studebaker and he blew like 14 engines in 13 weeks.
Oh man, we built him out of junk.
Here's what me and my dad said. Here's Bobby over tuning an engine up one night. He gets my dad to come over. He says, hey, you come over and listen to this thing. He said, what's wrong with this thing? He goes, wah. He said, that's what's wrong with it right there.
I tell you what the problem was more than anything. We had a couple nice motors. We got one from up at Barney's Auto Supply. It had a rev kit and all kinds of shit in it. But anyhow, Bobby's problem was, after it's all said and done, I realized what his problem was. He never would put a timer light on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he just went with it. Yeah.
He
just
jacked
run
the timer up on it, burned the pistons. And, But the little Studebaker, it was a cool little car. But anyhow.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, we spent more 1 year in gaskets more than we go get them out of junkyard. But I mean, like Kurt said, 14 motors in 13 weeks, you know what I'm saying?
What was it, you or Bobby that won the Oscar, the trophy, the Dash for Cash at Louisville and cut the donut and flipped? Was it you that hit the bonus, or was it Bobby?
That was Bobby in that oval car, Chevelle, little 4-door Chevelle, brand new car.
Yeah, he won a 4-lap trophy dash for $100. And then come off the corner and cut a donut.
The corner, lost and hit the grass. That's when they had the grass down in the infield. Destroyed that brand new car.
He flipped it. One thing, we're almost an hour into this, so like I said, these things can go on forever.
Yeah.
But Dave Comer told me that he thinks all the NASCAR burnouts was started because of you.
Well,
that's possible.
Dave told me because at Louisville, somebody came down that was with Bobby Gill, and you won a figure 8 race, and you started cutting donuts, and that guy won a truck race the next race on TV and started the burnouts.
Rick Crawford.
Was it Crawford that did it?
Rick Crawford. The following year when they come to the track, they invited me up to the trailer and that. And I guess it had something to do with it. He said, boy, that sure was impressive. I'd like to talk to him now, you know what I'm saying? I ain't talked to him in 20 years. But
I got a funny story about Crawford when we're done.
That was my favorite part of Saturday night, was when Raymond won the feature, just to watch after he won the feature. That was the best part.
Well, let me tell you a little story. We'll try to make it quick.
We got all night.
About doing them burnouts. When I started driving the car from Jimmy and Calvin, Huey told me, Raymond, we ain't doing no burnouts. Don't be tearing these cars up. And I thought to myself, I ain't no problem there. You know what I'm saying? I will not do a burnout. I don't care what kind of race I win. Well, up until that World 300 that I won, you know what I'm saying? And I kept my word. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do no donuts or no burnouts or nothing after the race was over with. And so I won that World 300, and the night before, I swear, I had a dream of what I could do since I couldn't do no burnout, you know what I'm saying? Because that was one of the deals. I could do a burnout, I tear his car, I'd get fired, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't going to get fired. So I had a dream the night before, and I swear, you know what I'm saying? Because I thought, man, what could I do? And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to drive around the car from outside the car.
Yeah, where you stand up?
Yeah. Well, prior to doing that, you know what I'm saying, as I won the race, I'm coming down in 1 and 2 on the 3 and 4 on the oval down by the pit turn, and here comes Huey Darnell walking down the infield. And I'd already been told that they was thinking about, you know, getting out of it that year, the following year, cutting it out. And anyhow, Huey's coming out of the infield, and I stopped at the edge of the track where he was at, and he reached in and he gave me a hug. We was both in tears, you know what I'm saying? He looked at me and I looked at him. And I said, "Well, did he?" He said, "We sure did, Raymond." He looked at me. He said, "Burn the tires off it." So I thought, well, first I'm gonna burn the tires off. You know, he first time he ever gave me, told me to, and I lit that bitch up. Yeah, I tell you what, them cars do a burnout.
Yeah, they had good motors. They had good motors. But Comer told me, he said, "I'm pretty sure Raymond started all that shit. All that shit you see on TV, I'm pretty sure Raymond started all that."
Right. Hey, Rick Crawford's a cool dude, boy. Hey, I got to go to some of my all-pro races with A. Arnold and Rick Crawford and Shawn Robinson.
Well, he was the only one running a Ford engine back then. Yeah, he was running a Cornet Ford back then.
Yeah, but I think Rick Crawford said something about that. He said, "Boy, that burnout you did, it was pretty cool, wasn't it?"
Yeah.
And old Dave Comer told me one time, when Robert Earl had me drive that car for him, which, you know what I'm saying, it was a top of the line car, you know what I'm saying, but I just couldn't get used familiar with it, get comfortable in it. And Dave Coleman told me, he said, Raymond, you want me to tell you what's wrong with that car? I said, what's that? He said, it's that gearbox. He said, you ain't used to that 2-to-1 shit. He said, take that 2-to-1 off, and he said, you'll be totally different.
I love Dave. I've been trying to get Dave to come on the show. He hasn't. He told me, he said, I'm not going to talk on your radio show. I said, well, good, Dave. I don't have a radio show. He goes, well, I don't like being on TV. I said, well, I'm not on TV. He goes, well, hell, I don't know.
I'm telling you, Dave's the reason I passed everybody on the outside that I passed.
Right.
Because I watched him do it, and I say, I want to be like that guy right there.
Hey.
If I'm going to run oval, that's what I'm going to do.
I'm slowly but surely converting Dave to a dirt guy. I talked him into getting flow. And I don't like that shit. I'm going to get flow because Snowball Derby's on there. And I said, okay.
All right.
So, a couple weeks ago, or last week, hey, did you see Larson won that sprint car race? I said, thought you didn't watch that dirt. Well, man, there ain't nothing going on. I said, okay. He comes in the clutch stop this morning and he goes, hey, in an hour, the shootout's coming on. I said, yeah, I'm having it on my phone. He goes, I watched 65 heat races yesterday.
He ain't lying. I did too.
He said, I watched 65 heat races yesterday. And I was like, you're getting there, Dave. You're getting there. So,
I watched about 50 today when I was at work.
So, but look, are them heat races total? Each one of them heat races is 10 different cars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's 130 heat races.
There's
1,700 race cars there.
1,700.
Yeah, you guys think you guys are doing something when you go to the World Figure Eight Championship with 31 cars. We call that a heat race over there where we race.
You ain't lying. Because I was watching them last night, man. Next thing you know, they said, you gonna watch them online? I thought,
yeah.
it looks like it's after 12 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? But that's unbelievable, the car count.
Yeah, hell, we're my wife and I, we're going to Chili Bowl here in a couple weeks. We're going for the whole week, in Tulsa. Hell, Kurt and I's going to Talladega this weekend.
Yeah, Saturday morning.
Saturday morning.
Dirt track?
Yeah, we're leaving to go to Talladega at 4 o'clock Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Well, y'all be careful, don't do no speeding. Last time I went out there and watched the race, I got me a $230 ticket, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, if Kurt drives, we don't take a chance getting it. If I'm driving, it's a very good possibility.
I got a CDL, so I got to keep it, so I can't.
Right.
I can't go too fast.
When I'm driving, Kurt's on lookout. We're like Smokey and the Bandit.
Well,
I got cruise set on 90, 95.
I thought my co-pilot was my lookout man, but he wasn't. Old Doodle Ferris. He said, and I swear it was like 2 minutes before we got pulled over. I said, man, we better slow this bitch down. Doodle said, I told you we ain't no big hurry. We're going home. About that time, I look in the mirror and the blue lights are going everywhere. It was crazy, but he had to come up from behind us, so we didn't pass him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as we're winding down here, all the years, is there anybody you want to sit down and thank to help you get to that point? Or you just want to say everybody, so you don't leave nobody off, piss nobody off? I know how it is too.
I could probably sit here and tell you for an hour of people to thank, and we'll probably forget one or two. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I mean, the people who help me more than anybody is my family. You know what I'm saying? My wife, my kids, by not being home and working on race cars, I'm still fortunate enough for them to accept that. But Clark Nichols, Huey Darnell, Roger Basham, Proctor, Jimmy French, Calvin Crane. I could go on for hours, you know what I'm saying? It's just everybody who helped me get to where I got by, you know, accepting me for who I was and who I am. Even Rance Harmon, Chris Harmon, you know what I'm saying? All my competitors, you know what I'm saying? We had fun, you know what I'm saying? Back then you could go to the racetrack, and even if you had a bad night, you could still socialize, you know what I'm saying? But since the social media stuff's come out, I couldn't imagine being.
Nah, I would have lasted a few years. I probably wouldn't have lasted the whole season.
Right.
It's like me and Ed Sadler. We talk back and forth on Facebook every day, and we'll post stuff and each other post on it. And we talk about each other. So, you know, we just made each other better all the time when we was mad at each other.
Right.
Because we just wanted to beat each other every week. So we just.
See, just like right there, you brought that name up. You know what I'm saying? Ed Sadler Sr., you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know,
Ed Clary.
He had a tree down in his junkyard, and I had it figured out. Well, I could knock the horns up on them cars. I could tie off this tree that Ed Sadler had, and I could lay a 4x4 underneath the frame rail, side to side. I could back that car up and just do a snap on it. The frame rail jerk right back down into place. You know what I'm saying? The 4x4 was the exact right height to do a jerk on that tree. And I'd wreck on Friday night, and Ed said, Ed Sadler, I'd wreck on Saturday, and Ed said, I'll see you down the tree tomorrow, boy. Yeah. But, you know what I'm saying? Just like Kurt, you know, mentioned Ed Sadler's name. It ain't that I wasn't thankful for him, you know what I'm saying? Just I can't remember, you know.
Everybody
There's so many people,
everybody, yeah. But everybody, or even the ones that didn't like me, you know what I'm saying? If they booed me, they would still think about me, you know what I'm saying? But
as long as they're making noise, you're doing something right.
And like Bobby and Trish, Rob Tarter, you know what I'm saying? They give me an opportunity to drive their Outlaw. Yeah. And Bob Miller, Mike Knight, just everybody who give me an opportunity to show that I could do what I did. You know what I'm saying?
So, everybody loves Raymond Unconscious Johnson. The guy's got 2 different nicknames from 2 different racetracks, and he sat down and talked with us 2 old guys and bullshit about racing for an hour.
And we had a good time.
I really appreciate you coming on the show, and like I said, this is the first old racetrack segment, and we're going to do this a lot. Kurt and I, we actually, when we talked about doing this show, this is one of the first things we talked about. We're like, we're really going to do this segment. We didn't really know what to call it, but Jeff Ward, that song that you came in the shop, he came on our show and performed it live.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
you need to go back and listen to our old.
You need to go back and listen to the Jeff Ward show, because he talks about writing that song and everything. But we brought him on for the first old racetrack segment, because then we're gonna continue this on. And I thought, what better person to have in the first one? Raymond's going into the Hall of Fame, and we got stories like the deer and changing tires and going swimming. And
I appreciate being here, fellas.
So we really appreciate you coming on, and like I said, keep doing what you're doing, Papaw.
I appreciate it. I just hope my boy keeps doing what he's doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe one day we'll get you 2 on here together.
Yeah, we might do a father-son thing.
Let's do it. Hey, but you go that father and son thing, or father and daughter, like Joe Behrman.
Yeah.
And like Kurt and his dad, and Matt and me, and like Rance and his dad, and so on, and Mark and his dad. But just like I told you earlier, you know what I'm saying? The ones that have good outcome, you know what I'm saying? I tell them they had to be conceived on a good night, you know what I'm saying?
It was a winning night.
On a winning night.
On a winning night, yeah.
I don't want to tell Matt, I think he might have been conceived after 100 laps or something. I didn't want him to know that.
Yeah.
No.
You were. That's funny. I told Royce that one time. I said, when you was born, Royce, don't you? He said, well, I said, that one Midwestern championship.
Yeah.
I said your mom had that Striegel asphalt jacket on, and your dad couldn't help it. So, all right, guys. That's the living legend here in Louisville, Kentucky, Raymond Johnson. All right, everyone. That was our deep dives this week, the old racetrack segment with Everybody Loves Raymond Unconscious Johnson. Kurt and I met up with him last week. Actually, it was I think it was New Year's Day. Is when we rode out there. Nobody really knows this, but Raymond's becoming a race fan. He went to Gateway Dirt Nationals this year. He's becoming a dirt fan. He went to the Dirt Nationals, and he said he watched the shootout heat races all damn day. It's the famous words of Raymond. Yeah, I guess I am going to watch them all day. But so there was our interview with Raymond Johnson. I think a lot of people are going to probably look at Raymond just a little bit different after that interview, because not everybody. Like, Raymond's got a perception that people think of him, but a lot of people don't know the real Raymond Johnson. And it's like this with a lot of drivers. I've said the same thing about my little brother. He's got a different perception than reality. And Raymond, and I told Raymond this in our interview, Raymond and him's kind of alike in my eyes. They get a bad rap, but they're the first person to help people at the racetrack, and they do a lot more good than they do bad. And, a lot of people don't really understand that.
Raymond's always been that way ever since I knew Raymond. Like, Raymond started racing a year before me, and he's been that way ever since he started racing, because a lot of people in the stands don't see everything goes on back in the pits. They don't have a clue that he just spent 2 hours helping somebody rebuild their car when he could have been working on his. I've seen him do it numerous times too, not just here and there. I've seen him do it a lot.
Yeah, well, and one thing too that's cool about that, and one of the main reasons why I want to interview Raymond first on one of our own racetrack segments. He's going into the Hall of Fame, and he was cool. He was the first to tell you he never really, in a million years, thought he would be a guy that's eligible for a Hall of Fame. We wanted to bring acknowledgement to that, but also you hear a lot of people in our local area that say, this driver hates this driver. These people don't get along. And that's no farther from the truth than like Chris and Raymond. They're always tied together. It's always been Chris and Raymond and Chris. Did you see Raymond hit Chris? Did you see Chris beat? I mean, they just always been tied together. And, I wanted to put that out there and squash that these guys do not hate each other. They actually, I wouldn't say a working relationship, but they do have a working relationship. Raymond runs an automotive shop. So Raymond needs clutches. Chris runs a clutch shop. And, you know, Chris builds clutches. Yeah. So, I mean, they work together on certain things. So it's not what everybody sees at the racetrack. You look at the racetrack and, oh, that guy hates that guy. Well, no, not exactly. Was that guy pissed off at that guy one night? Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, very pissed off. Did that guy try to kill him? No, he didn't. Did it look like he tried to kill? Oh, yeah, because sometimes you let your emotions get the best of you. So, and Raymond was even said in the interview, you know, that was probably pretty stupid on my part. But at the time, I was mad. So, and we've all been there. Trust me, I know that. I know that feeling.
I've done. Stuff like that too.
Yeah.
I've actually done that, and it's like, man, I probably shouldn't have done that after I did it, but it's just the way it is. I mean, when you're that passionate about what you do.
Yeah, I mean, hell, we say it all the time. Shit happens. I mean, and it does. So, but yeah. So I hope people that aren't a Raymond Johnson fan, at least kind of respect him a little bit more after listening to the interview. But there's also people out there, like Raymond also said, I mean, if they got a problem with it, they just got a problem with it. I'm like, well, okay. Yeah, you don't. You got big shoulders.
One thing about Raymond, though, one thing I always liked about Raymond, though, Raymond is one of those race car drivers that when he's racing, it just seems like he knows what the guy in front of him is going to do, like 10 seconds before they're going to do it. Yeah. Because he's already in that spot before they know what happened.
Yeah, that's
and it makes it look like he roughed them up, but he didn't. He just knew where they was going to screw up at, and
he stuck his nose in there, and so
and there's not a lot of people that can do that, and he's one of them that could do it. And I mean, really, I know Raymond. I mean, like I said, I grew up watching him. I grew up going to their shop, and they didn't have a lot of money when they first started running. When he first started winning all the races, he did it on pure talent.
Yeah,
because they had junk stuff. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, well, that's what. Yeah. And not only Raymond, like we were talking about other figure eight racers like Chris Harmon, like Roger Vincent, Tony Anderson, like all those guys, they grew up racing their stuff, the stuff that they worked on. I mean,
out of their shop. Yeah.
Like Chris was fortunate at the end of his career to be able to get whatever he needed to get. But I mean, he had an old Monte Carlo that had stock 355 in it. I mean,
like Raymond said, he finally got a good deal going there. And was able to have good equipment, so we was really able to shine in, you know.
Yeah, that's
by that time by that time when they was racing at Louisville too, though, there was like probably 10 guys that could win over there any night.
Yeah.
You know, they could start in the back and win any night. That's how good, like at least 10 or 12 of them cars was every single night.
Yeah, the figure eight division at Louisville Speedway.
Louisville took figure eight to another whole level.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. The figure eight division. The figure eight division at Louisville Speedway was it was the first time when figure eight racing was looked at as a race division and not a sideshow. Yeah. Because always it was, oh God, the guys at the Drome over there, or they just rough each other up. Well, Louisville, I mean, you had major money on the line because you were racing for a NASCAR Blue Region Championship. Yeah. So there was it wasn't like let's just go rough each other up, and it wasn't these. Dumb old redneck, so to speak. Yeah, like
it wasn't just a trophy and a jacket anymore.
You wasn't getting just a jacket. I mean, there was some serious money available. So, Louisville Speedway took figure eight racing to a whole nother level.
But then that carried back over to the Drome. After Louisville was gone. So
when Louisville was gone, I mean, you had 30 and 40 figure eight cars at the Drome every week, and it was really tough to win then.
Two features every week and everything. It was pretty awesome, actually. Yeah.
So. But yeah, that's the old racetrack segment. Like I said, with Raymond Johnson, it's kind of sad when we're doing the whole racetrack segment because we don't really think about it because that's like we race those racetracks and they're shut down, and we got to kind of face the facts that hey, we're the old guys. So I told Raymond, I said, hey man, you're the old dude now. And he's like, well shit, yeah, I guess I am. So
I told him, I said, how's it feel to be one of us, Grandpa?
Yeah. So but really good interview, and like I said, we got some more of those coming up, some more of those in the works, and we also have some more sprint car guys, more late model guys. We got a bunch of stuff going on. There's a bunch of stuff.
Cool stuff to do yet.
Yeah, we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg on some stuff that we want to do, and hell, we're just now figuring out how to do all this stuff and actually bring it to you every week. This, like I said, this week if Kurt sounds a little different, we're trying something different here. We're not going to do this every week, but
we're only doing this because it's a have to situation.
Yeah, it's have to. We're under a state of emergency, and and honestly, I hate for Flash to say, "Hey, come over and help me get this guy out of the ditch somewhere." So I'm glad he stayed home, so I don't have to go out and do that. But so we got Wild West Shootout going on all week, and then next weekend I'll be hitting the road again, heading to Tulsa, Oklahoma for the Chili Bowl. We're gonna have a lot of cool stuff going on Chili Bowl week. So we'll say that's TBA, to be announced. So, but we're gonna have some interviews,
we might get 2 live reports.
Yeah,
the Chili Bowl, because I might actually go down to 75.
Oh yeah.
So get down there on that Saturday to check that out, because I've never seen a race there. I'd like to go.
Oh yeah. I-75. It's a neat place, especially since they've redone it.
Well, we seen the track.
Yeah.
That night we got rained out, but
yeah.
I
So
didn't see a race there. Yeah.
But yeah. So like I said, until next time, we'll be trading sliders.